How will the Adelaide property market perform in 2025 in light of this trade war and a potential global recession? That's exactly what we're about to find out. So, how's Adelaide performing right now? Adelaide's been the standout performer for a long time in Australian property. It has done so well, backed by an economic growth story that is pretty simply amazing. A wonderful national story across Australia. Its annual growth rate has been 11%, it's still growing at 1%, and its gross rental yields have come down quite sharply as a result. Property prices are up 75% in the last few years alone, and that has triggered a monumental property boom for all Adelaide investors and anyone living in Adelaide at the moment. Underlying the Adelaide house price story has been the greatest housing shortfall across Australia. We've talked about it a lot in Australia as part of our national debate. The politicians are talking about it right now as we're in the middle of election season. We don't have enough houses. There's not enough houses, the politicians say. They keep talking about it. Adelaide has been the epicenter of that, which doesn't make much sense really, because I went to Adelaide recently and I looked around and I'm like, there's a lot of land out here. You fly out overwards and you're like, you can kind of fit a lot more people here if you wanted to. But nonetheless, Adelaide has a crippling housing shortage, which is getting a little bit easier as we go forward because the number of total listings and new listings are going up. But that is all to be expected as property prices boom, more people start selling their home. That's pretty freaking obvious. If I made $2, $3, $4, $5 million owning a bunch of homes in Adelaide, I probably would have been like, hey, time to sell now because I made some money. That's what's happening, and you always see that in any area going through a boom. But what does this change mean for Adelaide? So the change that we've talked about, really high level, quick summary in case you haven't watched the other videos, is trade war, slowdown in China, interest rates come down in Australia. That's pretty much the high level narrative of everything that happens. Hey everyone, if I can ask a quick favor from you. About a quarter of you have subscribed to this channel, but 3/4 haven't. If you can do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button and that bell notification, I'd really appreciate it. Adelaide will benefit from those interest rate cuts. It's started to get really high mortgage balances. It's not very affordable. It's one of the least affordable cities in the world. And this will help the affordability frameworks of Adelaide at the same time as its housing shortfall. So it could mean more and more people decide to buy in Adelaide than choose to rent, even though the current numbers say it makes sense to rent because the yield is so low and affordability is so harsh. That could change because interest rates could start coming down, and that always promotes more buyers. Adelaide will see that impact just like everywhere else. In terms of the impact of the China slowdown and the global slowdown, how does that impact Adelaide so much? So for this, I produced a little chart, a little bit of analysis using ABS data and the South Australian Treasury data about the nature of the Adelaide economy and what they export. I can see that the Adelaide economy is very diversified. It's made up of health, manufacturing, education, defence, construction, retail trade, and agriculture. Now let's just go through these one by one. Health and social services. Slowdown in China impacting Australian health sectors? I don't think so. I think Adelaide's health sector is probably driven by the health of Adelaide people, not what China buy and sell to the world. So not much of an impact there. Manufacturing. I'm not so sure I see much of a downside here. China has already blown Australia apart in manufacturing. That's been the case for a really long time. So if China has a manufacturing slowdown, I'm not so sure that Adelaide will either. And I'm not too sure what this manufacturing actually is. I don't think it's things that are too dependent on China buying it. It'd be very strange if we are doing manufacturing in Adelaide to sell to China, given they're the manufacturing capital of the world. So I don't think that's going to be that much of an issue. Education and training, don't really see any problem there at all. Defense and public admin, I only see positive factors for this. Construction, again, positive. Retail trade, again, positive. Reconstruction and retail trade are very interest rate sensitive. So when interest rates come down, people have more money in their pockets, people build more homes, businesses go and invest more, retail trades, people buy more coffee, basically, and go to the shops a little bit more. Agriculture and viticulture makes up 5% of the economy there. I have got this strange face because I have no idea what viticulture is. I think it's to do with making vitamins. Very interesting. Adelaide do that really well. They sell wine to China. They sell copper and some refined metals to China, but again, a really small portion of their total economy. It's very diversified. So if you're like me and you're like, what is Adelaide actually like? Is it just a small sleeper city? No. It's like really, really expensive. A lot of Adelaide people are making a fortune. It's got the biggest housing shortfall in Australia, and demand is about to increase, and I don't see any reason why the global noise is going to impact Adelaide all that negatively at all. So my big summary here is, when I go through the Adelaide economy, is Adelaide's gone from something that I've always said for like the last little while is you want to pay attention to it because you're going to get a sell signal for Adelaide some point soon. And I think I even touched on a podcast with Adi earlier where it's like, hey, it might make sense to sell in these areas. I don't think that's the case anymore. If I own property in Adelaide, I would be holding on through 2025 now because this rate cutting cycle will be like, yeah, this is awesome. I'm going to go take advantage of this. It's a little bit like Sydney, actually. I think Adelaide and Sydney may have similar performance over the next year or two. I know that sounds a little bit crazy because they're two very different areas going through different things, but I think the interest rate story in Adelaide and Sydney will play a similar role. And I do think those economies aren't going to be too negatively impacted, at least from this trade war stuff all happening around the world. And the lower inflation that we're going to import from all the Chinese goods being dumped over here and lower interest rates is going to help Adelaide and Sydney too. So there's my summary. If you own in Adelaide, pretty good place to hold on to that property investment for a while yet. Will I be buying in Adelaide? I don't think so, because Melbourne and other capitals are a little bit better. But I don't think this is bad news for Adelaide, it's only good news. If you found this video series interesting or want me to cover a little bit more, a completely different series, I thought it was really important to do this series again because of the changes that have happened over the past week. And that's why I've been going through sector by sector, economy by economy, and unpacking exactly what each of these economies actually do. Because the global trade war will impact each city differently, and it fundamentally changes the direction of our housing markets. So it's best to unpack that so you know what to do next.